Amazing grace shall always be my song of praise. For it was grace that brought my liberty. I do not know just how he came to love me so, but he looked beyond my faults and saw my needs. I will forever lift mine eyes to Calvary to view the cross where Jesus died for me. How marvelous the grace that caught my fallen soul. But he looked beyond. He looked beyond. He looked beyond my faults and he saw my needs.
Happy 20 years, Premature Pleasure, and Alexus Rhone, the author, the creative behind that phenomenal book. What is interesting, when Alexis said this is her celebrating 20 years of the release of that book, I had to think, wait a second, I'm in my early 30s. I was a preteen when I read this book. And it was interesting because my older sister, Alexis, was or is her mentor, but that time she was in high school. And my sister kept talking about her mentor. She's like, my mentor, Lex, she wrote this book. It's so amazing. It's so awesome. Well, you know, what do little sisters do when big sisters talk about how awesome something is? They want to see how awesome it is. So I borrowed that book without my sister knowing, and I read that book in less than 2 days. For a preteen to read a book in less than 2 days, you know the book has got to be good. And it was just very beautiful and interesting just to hear the stories that were in there. And I think it's so beautiful if it's not your lived experience, but you read of other stories and other lived experiences, it allows you to be more open, more well-rounded, and more just receptive to hear something that's different than your own. So, whoa, I didn't even know as a preteen that was what I was taking in. But now looking back in retrospect, I'm so thankful to just being able to read that book, borrowing it from my sister, and taking in some of the knowledge and wisdom of what that book has to offer. And I'm so excited for the re-release of it so I can read it again now in my early 30s and just continue to gain a new perspective. But thank you so much, Alexis, for your creativity, for your heart, for your passion, for your gifting, and your anointing of storytelling. Happy 20 years, and I wish you many, many more amazing, phenomenal decades of inspiring, encouraging, and storytelling, and being a light. Thank you so much.
Okay, so I have paper towels. Because I didn't have any Kleenex. I was like, I felt like the Kleenex was gonna like totally ruin my makeup. And it was not gonna be a cute look. Oh God. Whew. Fam, what's good with you? I am Alexus Rhone, aka Alexis Grace, the founder of Truth Meets Story LLC, expanding empathy one story at a time, host of Jesus, Jazz, and Dessert Wine, a weekly faith and adult storytelling series. And what kicked off all of the my creative efforts, my creative journey, my journey into storytelling was this young adult project novel called Premature Pleasures. And so we are here today to celebrate the 20th anniversary of that release and all of the amazing things that have happened since then. And I'm so full. I've been crying all week. Happy tears, as I have gone through the commemorative videos, and I've gotten messages and text messages, and I've had people respond that they were going to be in the virtual pews. And so I'm so happy to have you join me on this day. I also want to just point out that in addition to this being the 20th anniversary of the release of Premature Pleasures, this is also the 20th anniversary of this dress that I'm wearing. I bought it to wear to the actual release party all those years ago. And I am grateful that, it fits, it still fits cute. And, it's a good day. It's a good day all around. The last dude I met was actually a physical trainer, and that was the thing that caused me to think, like, okay, like, yeah, he don't have an option, he's not an option, like that he just lost all cool points just for that reason. I love my body. I like what it does as it gets, as I get older. I like the confidence that I have in it. Everything just kind of works for me. And so I met this guy when I was doing a full moon photo shoot. I love to capture. I took a landscape photography class. And so I have been going out and shooting the different moon cycles. And I love, kind of what all of that feels like, how I'm getting some new things in. And so I'm on this corner downtown. The moon is rising above the downtown Raleigh skyline. And I hear a voice behind me, real, deep, sultry voice. And he says, "Can you see that thing?" And I turn around, and there is this chocolate Adonis who is standing there. And I was like, I can see, come look. So he comes up to my Canon and he presses his face against the viewfinder, and he's looking and he's going through my shots and everything. Turns out he was also there to do a photo shoot, but he was doing a photo shoot of himself. In addition to being a trainer, he also does like inspirational, messages and that kind of thing. And so he was down there, in his, trying to get his little photo shoot on, but his camera wasn't working. So fortunately, we were both using the same Canon, and I was able to go and grab my battery charger, and we were able to plug it in. And, while his battery was charging, we started talking. Found out, he was a native of North Carolina. He almost moved to Houston, but his business started to pick up here in North Carolina, and so on. And I just got all, got all the details, all the stats. And then as he was about to leave, he said, "Well, do you mind if we stay in touch?" I was like, "All right, yeah, let's do it." Right. So I gave him my number. And then as he was leaving, he said, "Do you mind if I give you a hug?" Now, I had not been touched in forever. And so here is this chocolate Adonis asking if he can give me a hug. And I was like, And so I fell into them, and I clung a little tighter than probably what I should have. And then he left. And maybe about, a minute or so, half a minute after he left, I was like, "Oh Lord, I just hugged a stranger in the middle of a pandemic. He had his face all up on my Canon, and oh Jesus, like, what have I done?" Like, I've been like socially distancing. I've been, isolating, social, like being, putting myself in isolation. I hadn't seen my mama in over a year. "Hey mama, how you doing?" She don't want to see nobody. She's like, "If you come here, you're going to have to, we're going to meet on the driveway because I'm not, carrying them disease." She's just so careful. And I was like, oh, what have I done in this one instance? And suddenly it occurred to me how after all of these years, I am still nervous and praying and asking God for negative test results because I done seen some cute dude. At some point, that's going to hit y'all what I just said. Fast forward, everything turned out fine. I'm good. Not like he didn't have, any, he didn't have the COVID, and I was fine. But he was still not an option because he was a trainer, and I just feel like, hey, I don't want to do squats, and I don't want to do sit-ups. Like, I got Spanx for that. I don't want to do push-ups. I got a long sleeve jacket. Now, I would have that long sleeve jacket on right now, except it's hot. It's hot under these lights, and so I'm not doing my jacket with my cute little outfit. Anyway, I'm looking in this viewfinder, and you know what? I like what I see. So, it's all good in the neighborhood. Now, I will tell you, if that brother had told me that I could sign up for his workshops or his do the workouts with him, I would do that if working out with him would bring back my edges. I don't care 2 cents about my stomach. I got Spanx. My arms, look, I can pose in different places, and I can create the muscles and the tone or whatever in different angles. I know how to do that. But these edges, they've been snatched for a minute. And it's interesting how these edges started getting snatched because of a practice that I started doing right when my mama let me start combing my own hair. I was about 8 or 9 years old. And one of the things that I hated, and I felt like everybody in the neighborhood hated, girls and boys alike, were naps on the side of your, on your edges, like up here and back here. Nobody wanted to see them naps. And so the only way, with my natural hair grade, the only way I could not have like these little naps is to either, put chemicals on it, like do a relaxer, or I had to wear styles that pulled it back, and then put some dippity-doo gel, and then tie my head wrap on and leave it on there, and and only take the head wrap off right before I go outside, or right before I'm going to see somebody. I started that practice when I was 9 years old. And unfortunately, I didn't know about how that kind of strain and stress on this very weak part of your hairline, and doing it consistently, it's just gonna snatch your shit out. That's just what's gonna happen. And so I lament that. Now, if doing burpees and push-ups or whatever was gonna bring back these edges, I would be all into it. I definitely do that. But I thought it was very telling that the very first experience of me not loving a part of myself began with these edges. It began with somebody saying, "Oh, your hair is nappy around the edges and in the back." And then it became, "Your skin is black." And then it became, "Your voice is too loud." And then I'm, following, I'm a person for whom God has particularized in the person of Jesus Christ. I've dedicated my life to the Lord. And then it's like, ugh, them boys, the way you look, the way you dress. It is so interesting how often Black girls are told everything about them is wrong. And then we figure out how to pour ourselves into whatever is, quote, right. The first thing that I tried to do to correct what somebody said was wrong was destructive to my edges, permanently. And that is when I started to ask really good questions. It's one thing for you to snatch my edges. It's a whole other thing for you to snatch my voice, to snatch the way I feel about myself, to snatch the idea that somehow I am the daughter of a lesser God if I don't conform to these particular things. And when I started to ask those questions, I found that I was pretty lonely, because a lot of folks were so busy just trying to, if we just go along to get along, don't, they're like, lay your edges down with some gel that don't have alcohol in it. Do your makeup this way and it'll, brighten your face. Your voice. Just take it down a notch. It's okay. We can still hear you. I mean, it's like at some point I needed to stand up and to say, you know what, you've got my edges and you've gotten enough, no more. And it was at that point that I began to ask these questions and realize how lonely I was. And then I had to make a choice. Am I courageous enough to do it by myself? To go out there into those deep spaces where there's not a lot of camaraderie, where people are asking different questions, where people are navigating the world in a different space, when some of them are very gingerly asking me to not make it harder on myself. But I could not help but feel like everything about me was wonderful. And when I began to see how beautiful I was, I then began to see how beautiful all of my Black baby girls and my Black women were, and people in general. I began to see you. I could see them. And it was really interesting because once I could see myself and affirm how beautiful I was, and then once I began to hit them streets and tell them how beautiful they were, it was so interesting how much pushback I got. I'm not beautiful. I'm not this. I'm not that. And I thought, where are we getting these messages? These voices are hella loud. It's time for us to put them on mute. But when we mute those voices, what do we fill it with? And it was with that, and that spirit of seeing how beautiful my baby girls were and hearing them counter me, hearing them extol everybody else's beauty but their own. And I was like, okay, how do I approach this? I didn't want to be didactic. I didn't want to be like, you're beautiful, love yourself. I did tell people to, do affirmations, and I would write some affirmations. But what I felt like would really land, would be deeper, was to tell a story. What would it look like if I told a story and they were able to see how beautiful they were? And I was able to tell this story so that they would stop judging themselves and they would see what it looks like for others to not judge them. And then perhaps we could have a love pandemic. That's what I was after. And so with that, I decided to write this story, write this book. Now, before I wrote the book, the first thing I had to do was to do immense battle with my courage. A friend of mine gave me a book by Judith Couchman called Designing a Woman's Life. I think I've talked with quite a few people about that book, how impactful it was. And in Designing a Woman's Life, Judith Couchman asks two questions. She says, what are you passionate about? And what do you have a burden for? And in that moment, I had to go back and I had to do the exercises that she was leading us to do, to remember your childhood experiences. And it was interesting when I went back and I thought about all of the really bad messages that I got that I no longer felt and that I felt obligated to correct in others as they were coming up. I didn't want them to have those messages, but what was going to be the best way for me to do that? And so answer these questions. What am I passionate about? What do I have a burden for? And I realized that I had a ton of burdens. I had a lot of burdens. But my passion, at the time, it was, Jesus. And it was ministry. Now, right now, it's Jesus Jazz, Dessert Wine. It's, Black Twitter. It's Audre Lorde. It's, the biblical prophets and biblical poets. So I have a lot of different, sort of passions right now. But back then, it was very narrow. It was Jesus. It was ministry. It was particularly ministry to young girls. But the way that I wanted to show up as a minister was not to lecture them about the length of their skirts and the length of their shorts and all that kind of shit. I was like, you know what? Look, it's hot. You will not be able to wear short shorts and short skirts, Fayetteville Pumpkin. If you got the legs, go with it. Like I'm a fan. I'm a fan of the short shorts and the short skirts. That was not my issue. I wanted them to see themselves and to say, I am beautiful, and to be able to counter all of the messages that told them otherwise. That was where I was. And I felt like God, as particularized in the person of Jesus Christ, gave the solid most succinct way of, of us entering in and saying, hey, you know what, FYI, you are loved well and all is well with you. But I needed to know how to do that without, being too preachy on one side and without limiting the effectiveness of what it means for you to show up located and loved and practicing fidelity to what you believe. So I had a very delicate balance that I needed to strike. And I knew that I would not be able to please everyone. And so what I decided to do was to practice fidelity to the truth as I saw it. I am reverently irreverent. I am the daughter of Emma Means, who loves Jesus and worship music, but I'm also the niece of Margaret Ann, who loves Jesus and Johnny Taylor. Don't play with me. All of that is in me. And what I wanted to do was to practice fidelity to that. So I wrote this book, Premature Pleasures. And I knew early on that I wanted to engage two particular groups. My primary group were reluctant reading teens and preteens. But the other group that I wanted to pull into this narrative, into this experience, were mentors. I wanted them to be able to have material that would help them to keep it real, that would help them to partner with me and let our baby girls know that they are beautiful, they are loved, they are important, and they have important things to do. I needed to be able to attract both of those. And here is who I dedicated this book to. I dedicate this to the passionate givers and grateful receivers of love and action. Second thing I needed to do was to make sure that as I am targeting reluctant reading teens and preteens, that they open the book and on the first page, I got them. Here's what I wrote. I wanted some attention, so I hooked up with that whole clique. I thought I could handle it, but I grossly miscalculated the cost. As I face the consequences, I'm hopeful brighter days lie ahead. Here's my story. One day, my daddy came home and loved my mama with harsh words and clenched fists. That night, we left to make a home in South Park Village, Houston, Texas. As mama searched for a parking space, I caught a glimpse of our savior leaning over the balcony, smoking a cigarette. Carefree was her first, middle, and last name. We called her Aunt Sis, or Annie for short. Hey, she yelled wildly, waving her arms like we hadn't seen her before now. Her strong, throaty voice caught a group of passing teenage boys off guard. Damn, she loud. Mama lightly tooted the horn. Trey, grab your things. Ned, wake up, boo. Annie came downstairs, dangling the cigarette between her lips. Hey, little mama. I rushed toward her and fell in her arms. Finally, a secure place. Hey, man, Annie said and reached for Ned's chin, kissing his forehead as I continued to cling to her for dear life. He mumbled, rubbing away just enough sleep to see his way clear to the stairs. Hey, Mama said. Annie spoke softly. You all right? I am now. They embraced briefly. Melodrama wasn't their style. After we carried our luggage upstairs, I joined Ned in Annie's spare room. Mama placed an ice pack on my forehead. Go to sleep. Her swollen, busted lips hindered the usual flawless enunciation of her words. But I'm not sleepy, Mama. You will be. Just close your eyes and lay down. Please let me stay up and take care of you, Mama. I don't want you hurt anymore. Shh, shh. I'm okay. We're okay now. Don't worry about anything. I studied her eyes for reassurance, trying to look past the puffy black and blue areas surrounding both of them. Can you see your way to the door? If not, I can help. The red slits between her eyelashes that used to be big brown clear eyes couldn't have offered enough space for her to see. Exasperated, she placed a finger in front of her mouth. Night, Tree. She kissed Ned and me and left the room, closing the door behind her. I sat in bed debating whether to disobey Mama and go to the hallway where I could hear better. My heart finally settled when Annie laughed and Mama joined in. Their giggles were a lullaby to me. Only then was I sure she was okay. That first page and a half became an interesting journey that has done amazing things with my intended audience. And tonight, I would like to share with you a few of their expressions 20 years later as they reflected on their first moments interacting with Premature Pleasures.
Hi, my name is Sarika.
And I'm Australia.
And we were introduced to Premature Pleasures at the age of 15. We took a summer African American literature course during our freshman year, and our instructor let us know that we were having a special guest who's going to talk to us about her book that she had just published. And in walks the Miss Beautiful Alexus Rhone, so full of life, so excited to tell us about her book. She told us the title. She said the title of the book is Premature Pleasures. We were like, ooh, we were like, we was all in yes. We're like, what kind of book is this? They don't make this book in the children's section with these kind of titles. So we were extremely excited. And when she read the excerpt from the book, we were like, okay, we have to get this book home and read it because it was just so captivating from the little part that she had read to us, right?
Yeah, it was. I just remember being so drawn to the book, like so invested in the characters. We'd be like, girl, did you read this part? Oh my God. And it was just like Trek was a girl who looked like me. And that was not something that we really saw, like a dark-skinned girl on books or stuff like that. So it really drew me in. Like, we were so invested.
Yes, it was, okay, here's a story with Black characters who were young, like our age, who were doing the things we're doing, being fast, hanging out with us, like, this is us. Mm-hmm. So we finished that book within a couple of days, knowing we had an assignment coming up for that week, and we didn't even do it, right?
Right. We went to our African American literature class, and the teacher was like, who did the assignment? And it was crickets. The teacher was salty because we were talking about Premature Pleasures, and she was like, this is not the assignment that I had set up for you guys.
She was like, what happened?
Even the other students in the class were reading the book. Nobody was reading the actual book that we were assigned to read. So she ended up switching the assignment so that we can do the book on Premature Pleasures, which was a bonus.
Yes. So Trek has been our homegirl from Premature Pleasures all the way through. Yeah. We grew up with her. We share same experiences from book to book, but definitely Trek is our homegirl. She will always be our homegirl.
Yeah, we grew up with Trek. It's like she's an old friend of ours. Her experiences, it was just like right around the time we were going through a lot of things. So it gave us a lot of clarity. It was like, you're not alone. So it was always such a breath of fresh air for us to read Premature Pleasures and all the other books in the series.
Yes. So happy anniversary for Premature Pleasures. Congratulations. You're an amazing writer, and keep doing what you do. We love you.
We love you.
Hi, my name is Julie Wenna, and I am from Houston, Texas, born and raised by way of Nigerian immigrant parents. And it is such an honor to be here to celebrate, to honor Lex the writer, this amazing book, Premature Pleasures, that I came to as a youth myself, as a young woman. I met Lex the writer, Alexus Rhone, as a youth when I was in Young Life, a Christian organization that, was probably one of the things that saved my life, that and Fellowship of Christian Athletes. And I remember reading Premature Pleasures and feeling seen, feeling as if I could identify with that story. It explores how you can be a youth, a young kid, maybe coming from a home where you may not have all the supervision in the world, and not because it's not that your parents don't want to, it's just that they can't because they got to work to provide, to put food on the table. So then what happens? You are raised sometimes by the neighborhood. And I love the way the book explored this young woman's life as strong, as resilient, even in moments of confusion, it was just beautiful. It was raw. It was authentic. And I feel like I read it in 2 days. Like I couldn't put the book down. It was a page turner. And it was one of the books that helped me really fall in love with reading and the art of storytelling and sharing our experiences and honoring them over ourselves. So I am incredibly excited to be part of this celebration and celebrating the amazingness of Lex, the writer, Alexus Rhone, and this amazing book, Premature Pleasures, which was her amazing debut novel that was amazing. I also have to take this moment to just honor Alexus. Alexus was my mentor as a youth. You know, she's one of the first people I remembered that was my actual mentor. I've had so many, and I have also mentored and feel equally blessed on both sides.
Thank you.
But Alexus was my first mentor. I'll never forget, you know, and I met her through Young Life, but I'll never forget winning Homecoming Princess my junior year of high school in Houston on the Southwest. And Alexus came to Butler Stadium, brought me a roses, and made me feel special and seen and celebrated and valued. And for this Black woman, this dark-skinned Black woman, that felt incredibly special. And I will never forget how she made me feel. And I know that you won't forget the way that she makes you feel, and her art and her storytelling, and her ability to see people in their fullness, in their totality, without judgment, but valuing each thread that makes them the full fabric of who they are. So Alexus, I celebrate you. I love you. Thank you. Thank God for your art, your voice, your story. We celebrate you and we salute you. Love you so very much.
Happy 20th birthday to Premature Pleasures. I am so excited for you, Alexus. I can't believe it's been 20 years since you've released your first book. I found out about Premature Pleasures when I was in high school. A schoolmate of mine kept reading the book over and over again. So I checked it out at the library. I totally fell in love with you and your writing. I love the book so much. I emailed you the same day and I told you you were my Beyonce of books. For me, Trekela represented a lot of what I went through as a child, but Miss Denise represented a lot of what I've gone through as an adult. She was a wounded healer. She went back to the community to be an influence for girls like Trekela, which reminds me a lot of you and the work that you've done, Alexus. So not only do you write the truth, you live the truth as well. Congratulations on 20 years of success, and I wish you so much more.
Hi, Alexus. I simply want to say congratulations on Premature Pleasures. That book 20 years ago touched me so much. My mentor, Shannon Wright, had brought me to Barnes & Nobles to listen to you go over your book. And I thought, wow, this book is so relatable, so real. It just inspired me to write even more. I have a book coming out called Letters to My Sister, Words for My Brother. And it's because you lit that fire under me. I really appreciate it. Keep writing, keep blessing us with your real books. And congratulations, 20 years. Oh my God.
Premature Pleasure. This book changed my life. Reading about Trek and all of her adventures, of her getting to know herself, of her finding myself, really changed my life. Opening up a book and reading about a Black girl, a young Black girl, a young chocolate Black girl, and all of her experiences, I could relate so much to them. It was so wonderful to be able to open a book and read a story about a girl just like me. And 20 years ago, those types of stories were really hard to find. Also, the author, Alexus, when I met you, I felt like you were a celebrity. I still think you are. You're a star. You're amazing. You changed my life. You changed my mom's life. I can't believe it's been 20 years. Oh my gosh. honestly, I want another book. I want to know what Trek is up to now, 30 something, just like me. Can we keep this going? I love you. I love Premature Pleasure and all the books that have followed. They really, really mean so much to me to this day. And I'm so proud to call you family, Alexus. You are incredible. I love you. And cheers to another 20 years. And we'll be doing this again. Love you.
I wasn't sure how to do that. Okay, first of all, I've been sitting here fanning myself and trying to keep my tears from streaking. I feel like my face is beautiful without the makeup. I can cry and I ain't got no problems. But the minute I put on makeup, suddenly it's like I have to do all of these different things. I was blessed to not just be able to go through the videos again, but to also see all of your comments. I want to pull up one comment from Miss Thelma Max. She says, "Okay, can I pick one up at the library?" Okay, now here's the really funny thing about that, Miss Thelma, is that I have the dubious distinction of having written a series of books that are like, quote, the most stolen books in the library. In other words, they check them books out and they do not return them. And so whenever I would go and I would do like live readings and do different things, you know, I tell them, y'all, could y'all please, I can't get famous if y'all keep stealing the books. Like the library does not have like an endless budget for y'all to just be stealing the books or whatever. But I thought what was interesting is how they so resonated with the character and with the story. They connected and they just did not want to let her go. And I was like, you know, y'all could have also bought them. Like, you know, there's that. But we're gonna be talking about that shortly. But Ms. Thelma, that is one of the reasons why they might be hard to get at the library. Librarians just got tired of buying them. They were like, look, you know, we just, you know, donating to the patrons. I love that they love me so well. But the other thing that I love, and I thought that, and I'm sure you picked up on this too, one of the reigning things that kept coming up with the fans, my beautiful young fans who are now adult women, and what is fabulous about this particular group is that when I met some of them, they could not see their greatness the way I did. They couldn't see their beauty the way I did. And what you just saw was a snapshot of beautiful women who are they're ministers, they're mentors, they are writers, they're authors. One of them is like there are several of them who are actually like in spiritual leadership and leadership in faith communities. Another one, she was the assistant to Mrs. Michelle Obama. So it is amazing that they were able to, and their wives and mothers, and they're doing amazing things with their own children. So it is really beautiful for me to see them actualize what I was able to see when they couldn't see what was all there. But the other thing that I thought was really interesting was that for all of the ways that I knew that they were beautiful, because I like, you know, I'm not blind, I got eyes I can see. They didn't see it. And I needed to have someone serve as the model, serve as the cover model. She basically has become the face of the whole Trekela Baden brand. When I was writing and crafting this story about this beautiful chocolate diva, I had the privilege of worshiping in a church with the young woman who became the cover model for, you know, the entire series for 3/4 of the series. And I would like to bring her on now. So please join me in welcoming Miss Cynthia.
I'm Alexis.
Still so beautiful. Still so beautiful. Oh my God. 20 years.
Yes.
What was it like? Long time. What was it like for you to serve as the model for this very popular book?
Well, first of all, I must say I didn't, I was like 15, I believe, at the time.
Uh-huh.
So I really didn't take it seriously. Like I didn't think it was gonna be where it is now.
Mm.
So when you asked me, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, sure, why not? And so, we took the pictures and everything, but it really didn't hit me until you actually had the book. And I was like, oh, this for real, for real. Oh, okay. So then I tell my mom, it's 15, you're excited. I'm like, oh mom, I'm on the book. Like, this is gonna be large. Mr. Alexus, well, I'm like, my mom said, she bust my little bubble. She's like, it's gonna be large for her. I was like, girl, no, like we together. She was like, honey, you're not the author. I was like, yeah, but I'm the model.
You're
Like
the model,
she needs me
yes.
wherever she goes. Like I go, like I'm packing my bags. Like I don't even know what you're talking about, Mom.
I still remember even at the release party, there were people who were coming up to you and asking for your signature.
Yeah, I was like, oh yeah, sure, why not? Let me just sign the book. It's very interesting for me. Very, very.
Wow. Now, one of the things that you said that I was not aware of when we were doing the tech rehearsal, you said that people started to ask you if the book was about you.
Yes. So I got that a lot. They were like, this is you. This was about you. I guess because you did Houston and I'm from Houston and I was like, no, this book is definitely not about me. And they were like, yeah, that's you, that's you, that's you. Because at 15, I was, me.
We were 15. There it is.
I'm just gonna be
15,
honest,
I've been on the planet 15 years,
So yeah, so they were like, yeah, that's that attitude, that's definitely you. Like the way she pops off, like that's you. And I was like, no, it's not me. I'm telling you, she may have the characteristics, but yeah, it's definitely not me.
Well, how did it feel to hear everyone talk about the importance of representing like just this as a beautiful dark-skinned girl? Like, how did that feel that you were that brand?
So it makes me feel very, very I guess you can say relieved. Let me tell you why. Because growing up, just being dark, I didn't think I was beautiful.
Wow.
Like every other probably family member, you have someone that's in there that's light skinned, prettier hair, whatever. Mm-hmm. So I had cousins that are like that. And so I would always do, of course, the compare and contrast thing. So I really didn't think that I was beautiful growing up just because of the color of my skin by it being so dark. Now I had, a good texture of hair, but it was just always bothering me that I was so dark. And I really didn't grow into myself and my beauty until I feel like till I got maybe about 10th, 11th grade. Mm-hmm. And my son's father, when he was like, when the first guy, checks you out, calls you beautiful, you know how that goes. And so to me, I was like, oh, you think I'm beautiful,
Wow.
This black girl, and so just growing up, people always and so I had to really just grow into I call it my black beauty. And now, honey, you can tell.
Oh my God, Simia, it is like, and like I said, it is, I know that you are not a liar. And so I have to trust that is the truth. But like from like the whole time I've ever known you, all I have seen was just like drop dead gorgeousness. And so I am grateful that I had the opportunity to see, the ability to see. And then for everyone else who saw you on the cover of the book, they were like, ooh, that's Trek. Trek is beautiful. Like, because you were representing that.
Right.
Yeah. And so listen, and I'm still gonna take you now that you're like the face of the brand, okay. And like as my dollars climb, like I promise you, I'm gonna square you up, you and your mama. Like that's what.
It's okay, Miss Alexus, because I just get a kick about telling my kids. I'm like, oh, I'm famous. I'm on the front cover of a book. Like, get where I am. I just love telling my sons that. No biggie.
Oh my gosh. So Simeon, thank you so much for partnering with me 20 years. I hope your mom Miss Martha's in the virtual pews. If she is, hey sis, I am so appreciative for you for gifting the world this gem, this jewel.
She is not, but I did tell her about it.
Okay, well,
yes,
I'm at my own
home.
To watch it. Okay, well,
Yes,
she's gonna have
yes,
to watch the replay. But
yes.
Ms. Martha, I love you so much, and I appreciate you for gifting the world Simeon. All of that, like just amazing, amazing. All right, thank you, sis, for coming on. Let me put you back behind the in the green room.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Can y'all believe that? Y'all saw that lusciousness and that made her feel like light skin was like the thing to be, and I just like I'm just all kinds of traumatized by all of that, but not traumatized without a solution. And what has been important, Simeon said that the person who made her feel beautiful was, her son's father. He was the one who flipped that whole thing and began to like show her what he saw, which is what I saw, which is what the rest of the world saw, and finally helped her to see that. But I also wanted mentors and just adults, responsible, loving, God-fearing adults to demonstrate their love and their God-fearingness by sowing positive seeds into our young people. Now, positive does not mean sanitized. One of the issues that I face routinely when I made the decision to write this book and to publish it and to do everything the way I did. I had two fights that I was, two battles that I was fighting. There's the group that is kind of secular, and they love, all of the drama and the cray-cray and all of that. They didn't really like the redemptive message. And then I had the other team that liked, or the other side that loved the redemptive message. They loved Jesus. They just wanted a more sanitized sinner. And to both groups, I'm like, look, it is what it is. And so I had to do a very delicate balance of finding the right people to partner with me, to read the book, to promote the book, to extend copies of the book to youth audiences, to have these conversations together. I had and have a big, big vision for how stories and true stories, stories that are where we don't go to the edge and then back up like, fuck it, we just fall over the cliff. But you know what? We don't die from it. But did you die though? Like, we figure it out. I didn't want to make it safe. I wanted to go straight, no chaser. And I needed people to partner with me. And in that, by the grace of God, I found some awesome adult partners. And I would like for you to take a listen to their commemorative to their dedication videos now.
Congratulations, Alexus Rhone, on 20 years of Premature Pleasures. I'm Emma Rogers, formerly of Black Images Book Bazaar in Dallas, Texas, and Premature Pleasures was one of our best-selling books.
Hi Alexis, this is Candace Rogers, this is my mother, and we are so excited to celebrate 20 years with you. My mother and I were in a book club, a mother-daughter book club at the time, and we really enjoyed reading Premature Pleasures. I think it was our favorite book. It's definitely up there with like The Coldest Winter Ever by Sister Soldier, like the writing, the drama, the narrative, because it just felt so real. It felt like we knew the character, like we went to school with her. So we just want to congratulate you on your continued success. We know that more is coming in the future.
And we look forward to reading it and sharing it, hand-selling it to all of our friends.
Yay, and we love you. Congratulations once again. Bye.
All the best.
Hey Lex. When I first encountered Premature Pleasures, I was 24 and leading the girls' youth group at our multiracial church, which was on the edge of the 3rd Ward in Houston. My kids were in their mid-teens, which meant I wasn't much older than they were. I was a baby teaching babies in retrospect. And I was becoming aware that there was not a lot of literature that reflected their experiences. And when I connected with Alexus, it's what my charismatic friends might call a divine appointment. When I gave it to the kids, they gobbled it up. I'd never seen them so excited by a book. They recognized the street names and the places in the book as being their neighborhood, but more importantly, I think they recognized the characters and the experiences. It just resonated with them. For some of them, I think it was the first book they'd ever had an emotional connection to, which as a reader is something that I treasure. and that I wanted for them. Books, for me, have often been what let me feel less alone in the world. And I think that I wanted that for them. And I think this book did that for them. I took them to one of Lex's early readings at a Barnes & Noble, remember, brick and mortar bookstores. And they were so starstruck, so excited to meet her and tell her how profoundly the book had impacted them. These kids are still dear friends of mine 20 years later, adults with their own families now, and that book still reminds me of that period when we were kind of growing up together, and this was one of the things that knit us together. And for them, I think it was a portal to a world of literature that let them know that someone saw them and felt their experiences were important enough to give a name to. So Lex, we love you, we're grateful, and congratulations.
A special hello to Alexus Rhone. I want to thank you for introducing a group of girls at Willow Ridge to Reading for Recreation through my mother-daughter tea, where we featured your books. Congratulations on all that you do. Thank you.
Hey Alexis, congratulations on the 20-year anniversary of Premature Pleasures. As a reader and on behalf of all the readers out there, I thank you for sharing Trek's journey with us. Sometimes we laughed, sometimes we cried, but we always grew from the experience. As a teacher and librarian, I thank you for being the champion for the reluctant reader. You always said that you write books for the people that do not like to read. And it wasn't until I started going through this journey with you that I realized how important that was. And I think that I became a better teacher, a better educator because of that. And finally, as your friend, thank you for always being a positive light whenever you hit the room. Thank you for shining that light on all the rest of us. You are a gifted storyteller. I love you. Bye.
So my memory of Premature Pleasures. When the book hit the scene in Phoenix, Arizona, I was working at the downtown library, and I was working at one of the first teen centers that was its own space in a library, in a public library in the nation. And so there was a lot of exciting stuff going on and programs and things. And within that first year, all of a sudden I started getting requests for this book, Premature Pleasures. So kids would come in and they would ask, do you have books by Alexus Rhone? And here's the title. And they didn't always know the exact title, and they didn't know how to spell her name. And so it actually took a little while to find her. The internet back then didn't just fill out, what you're thinking for you. And so we kind of worked with it, and finally we got the book. We found the book, and the library hadn't had it yet. So I was able to recommend the book for the library collection, and that was how we got it on the shelves in the teen center of the library. And so that was the first time I had heard of Alexus. So now fast forward to 2003, and this was the year I met Lex in person for the first time. So random, like totally just crossing paths in that serendipitous or blessed or divine or whatever you want to call it, way. I actually was presenting my experience from a short-term missions trip at a church that I had never been to, that I was asked by the missions leader, could you come, on this night and share a little bit. So I had gone to Ghana, West Africa, and I think I brought my photo album and maybe some other things, and I just had this booth set up. So there was a crowd of people at the church, and I remember this woman standing up and saying, I'm Alexus Rhone, and I'm a teen author, or I'm a young adult author. And I thought, what? Like, is this the same person, that I'd been hearing about from all these kids that came down to the library? And so sure enough, it was her, and she came up to my booth and, looked at what I had there, and we talked. Our missions leader, Annie Brandis, she kind of came in and kind of just connected us all together. And I got to tell Alexus, like, hey, all these kids have been coming and asking for your book. You know, we have it at the library now. And there is where we exchanged contact info. And so that was all backstory. Now, the memory I actually want to share is this. And this was the first planned personal meeting, actually, that we made. And we decided to go to a coffee house and just, you know, get to know each other, whatever. And I am not good with details like Alexus is. So I just have a feeling. I have this feeling memory and sort of these colors. I remember just going into this coffee house and it felt really warm. It was bright, warm in tone. Just there was sun shining in through the windows. And we sat there and we just talked so effortlessly. It was easy, and pretty soon it was felt like within minutes before I knew it, we were both crying, and we were just sharing deep stuff. I'm going to use her phrase, life on life's terms. And I knew right then, I just loved her. I loved everything about her. I loved her soul. I loved her spirit. I just had this, you know, love for this person that I had just met. And so for me, aside from just being the most requested book that I had ever had at Teen Central at the library, Premature Pleasures really marks the beginning of this beautiful friendship I now have.
I was introduced to Premature Pleasures while I was literally teaching. Now, I was teaching at an inner city high school, a Title I high school, a high school full of non-readers, until Premature Pleasures showed up on our campus. So I'm in my second block class, which was my first class of the day. And we are teaching, getting into our lesson, and I'm up doing my thing, right? I think I'm a pretty engaging teacher. I can usually capture my audience pretty well. And young people, I was pretty good at capturing them and getting them going. And so I was doing my thing, and all of a sudden I look up, you know, I had about 5 girls. It was a smaller class, about 5 girls in my class. And I see them kind of like looking down, you know, so they knew already that I had to have their attention. So they kind of hiding what they're looking at. Right. But I noticed it, but I just kind of keep on teaching and keep on doing what I'm doing. Right. And so, I see them again. And then I kind of, as I'm walking around and using my proximity and the levels of my voice to kind of get their attention, I see that they are reading a book. So I thought, oh, okay. So I was excited if they were reading. So I kind of just left them alone. And again, I only have 5 students in there. Right. So it was fine. I finished teaching, give them the lesson. You know, they do their thing. Now, mind you, the whole class, for the most part, these girls were in this book. So I thought, you know, it kind of caught my attention. But again, like I said, I let it pass. So then I'm in my third block, which is after lunch, right? So what I didn't know was that our principal had distributed the books to the girls during the lunch periods, right? So he had given the rest of the books to the students on campus. So when all the girls come into my classroom, all my students come into my third block, which is again a bigger class, I had about 20 girls in there, right? So again, I'm up doing my thing, I'm teaching. I look up and all 20 girls is in this book, like out the gate. As soon as the bell rang, they in the book. And so I'm like, wait a minute, like what is going on? So I said, okay, you know, I figure I can walk around, use my proximity, the levels of my voice. You know, normally that works to get their attention, for them to say, okay, Miss Star walking around the classroom, she's tripping, I'm going to pay attention. No, it did not work. For the first time ever, that didn't work, right? I could have got in those girls' face this close, and they would have been in that book, okay? So I finally was like, all right, y'all win. Y'all win. What are you guys reading? Right? And so they tell me, okay, it's this book, Premature Pleasures. Mr. L, our principal has given it all out, given it, all the books out, during lunch and before now. And it's real good, Miss Star. You're gonna have to read it. And so I'm like, obviously. So I pick up the book. I said, can I check it out? And so I get the cover, and I was like, okay. Look, in the inside of the jacket, read the back of it, and I was sold. Now I'm sold. I'm like, what? So as soon as class was over, I run to the office, to the principal's office. I'm like, hey, I need one of those books. He was like, well, they for the kids. I'm like, look, they're captured. All of the kids are captured, are completely in love with this book. And if they're not going to be paying attention to me, I need to know what they're reading so we can have some dialogue about it, And so he was like, all right. So he gives me the book. So now I go to my fourth block class. And this is my next class. I get up trying to teach then. Again, the girls come in with this book. So I say, forget it. I'll make my mind up then and work out a deal with my students that, look, I've got to be able to teach. So you guys will be able to read the book the last 30 minutes of class. Now we got 2 hour, 30-minute blocks, right? So during the last 30 minutes of class in my fourth block, I too start to read the book, right? So that whole week, it went from 30 minutes to 45 minutes to an hour and 15. We reading this book in class and having like some of the best dialogue, some of the realest, truest dialogue that I have ever had with my female students in class. And it was from this book, this guide. Finally, my young girls, my young Black girls had a book that they could absolutely resonate with. They could relate to. They understood what Trek was going through, and they were loving these adventures that she was on with all of the things that were coming at her, the church, school, her friends, the men, the boys, dealing with her parents and the struggle between them. All of these things, these my young Black girls could relate to. Finally, they had something. And so I was just, absolutely elated. And I loved the book. It was amazing. And I thought, I've got to meet this author. I found out she was on campus and teaching and had seen her. And I was like, okay. So finally we meet, we talk, and I am like, thank you so much for this. My students are in love with this book. We have had great dialogue. They finally have something that is not only something they can relate to, but a guide into the fact that they have a voice, they have choices, that what they're going through isn't abnormal. It doesn't make them a bad person, a bad girl, not at all, right? And she goes on to tell me something that like just has stayed with me forever. And this is definitely who Lex is. Lex says to me, I consider myself the Black Judy Blume. And I remember when she said that, and I sat back and I thought, oh my gosh, absolutely, you are. And I remembered what Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret meant to me when I was a young girl. And it was nothing like what Premature meant to me as a young Black girl, and what it would have meant to me had I had an opportunity to read it when I was going through all of those same things that Trek was going through in Premature Pleasures. And they weren't ready for Judy Blume, even though us girls were, even back then. They definitely weren't ready for Lex. However, she made sure that she went into the high schools, that she got us this book, despite the fact that all the girls were ready for it. And, some other people, the people in charge of some of the schools, some of the places were not. However, she got it to us. And I am so grateful. Thank you so much. And congratulations, Lex, on 20 years.
Deep breaths, deep breaths, deep breaths. Thank you. Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for receiving me. Thank you for giving me permission to practice fidelity to who I am. This reverently irreverent person who loves God, loves creation, and just wants to be an extension of that love. So I bless you. Before we close out, there are 4 things that we do every week. This is the normal time where we would have Jesus Jazz and Dessert Wine. And FYI, thank you to all of my Jesus Jazz and Dessert Wine peeps who were in the virtual pews last week. I told them, hey, y'all, okay, we're going to treat next week like it's the pastor's anniversary. So like you invite your family and friends. Earlier this week, Mama and I were teasing. She was like, oh, Lord, the pastor's anniversaries, they're going to be about 3-4 hours. I was like, that's when you have, 15 people on the committee. Everybody got to have their ideas. Like, but this committee is a committee of one, and all of her ideas got greenlit. So for that reason, it will not be we will not tarry. But there are 4 things that I want to offer before we close out the celebration that I think are just healthy practices whenever we gather. The first is I like to offer a public lament. And my lament is rooted in, again, in this celebration and in the way that I have chosen to show up in the world as a reverently irreverent person who tells stories on diverse platforms. I tell stories on page, on stage, on screen, web, podcast, radio. I tell stories about the resilience of Black girls and Black women. And I'm very clear about my calling. And then I also train people how to tell their stories as well. But when I asked God for where was home, I had been, I felt like I had been a desert wanderer for long enough. And I was ready to head to a space where I could plant and feel secure and thrive and do what I needed to do. And Raleigh, North Carolina is where I landed, and I am very much at home here. It's so beautiful. The spaces are verdant. It's just green all over, and it's spacious, and the people are warm and beautiful. I am very much at home, and I appreciate God for gifting me the opportunity to call Raleigh, North Carolina home. But when I got here, I came here on faith, meaning I did not have housing. I didn't have a gig. I didn't have contract secured. All I knew was that Raleigh was home. And there's so many of you, like there are several of you who know my story, and you laugh at all of the craziness. But you always know, or you also know that it definitely worked out for me. Everything is good. I sleep indoors every day, and I eat every day. So for somebody to pick up a life from the West Coast and go and plant elsewhere like that, it's beautiful. The Lord is faithful, and I've been provided for. One of my practices is to walk through this wooded area, this nice wooded trail by the art museum, and that's where I start. All of my every morning I'm out in that space. But one afternoon I was there, and I don't know what led me, to do the walk that afternoon. I think I was just kind of feeling anxious because I was literally out here without the safety net of, the kinds of things that everybody else has. So I'm walking through the woods. I'm walking on this trail, and I am bawling uncontrollably. I am crying and I am wailing. And what I am crying out, what I'm saying through my tears is, God, why did you make me so strong? That was literally my what I was crying about. I was crying because I was made strong. And I feel like with my sanctified imagination, my guardian angels were sitting there like, is this really happening? For 30 minutes though, I did this. And then when I heard myself say, why did you make me so strong? Like I kept saying that. And I was like, wait a minute, what did I just say? And then I bust out laughing. And I felt like my guardian angel's like, oh, okay, we good now? We good? Okay, let's get on with this journey. I am, one of the Psalms says, you strengthen and enfold me. You make me strong. You strengthen me more and more. That's what it is. You strengthen me more and more. You enfold and comfort me. That has been my reality the whole 20 years. This has been interesting. This has been an interesting journey. There are people who started off on this journey who are no longer with me. And there are jabs that remain with me. This has been an interesting 20 years. But what I lament is not that I am strong. I am grateful that I'm strong. I lament that although I said yes to my faith and yes to the just the utterances that were happening, just as things came up and I knew how I wanted to show up in the world, I simply said yes to it. I lament that there are not more of you who will give yourself permission to mute the mic of your fears and to just say, yes, I lament that those fears, they silence you. And that makes me very sad. But here's my prophetic hope. If you listen to your life, you will find that God is very gently guiding you into a space that's not just the fulfillment of your highest good, but you partnering with God and healing the world through your gifts, just by you paying attention. My prophetic hope is that you will listen to your life and that you will pay attention to what you're feeling. Everyone in the part of the Jesus, Jazz, and Dessert Wine at Vespers Group, you know how much I love Audre Lorde. She is a poet and a prophet. But this is how she put it. She says, and when she's talking about feelings, she says, as they become known to and accepted by us, our feelings and the honest exploration of them become sanctuaries and spawning grounds for the most radical and daring of ideas. We can train ourselves to respect our feelings and to transpose them into a language so they can be shared. Ashe. I pray that you are going to leave this space very much engaged and committed to listening to your life, to paying attention to your feelings and what you feel. You can say, it feels right to me, and know that that is a legitimate way of knowing whatever is your next best move. It's the best move because it feels right to me. Ashe. The third thing that we do, Jesus, Jazz, and Dessert Wine, is we offer an energizing memory. And I have to say, this whole event right here, energizing memory. Thank you. Bless you. In the same way that I remember, I need for you to remember who you are and where you've been as well. Practice going back into your psyche and engaging your energizing memories. Let your memories, your good memories, energize you. This whole event has been an energizing memory. Bless you. Finally, the fourth and final thing is we talk about giving. And I think it was last week that we started to share about how giving yourself permission to do it your way is what I want to say again this week. Give yourself permission to do it your way. If I had waited on somebody else to decide to publish me, I could still be, 20 years trying to get Premature Pleasures published. I gave myself permission to do it my way. I gave myself permission to say it as it felt real and right for me. And in practicing fidelity to that, I was able to do exactly what I had asked God for. And that was to show my beautiful Black and brown girls that they are indeed beautiful and to give that to them in a story. I gave myself permission to do it my way. And I think that you're going to, when you do the same, you're also going to find that there is a rich treasure trove in doing it that way. Now, here's the other thing that I want to do, though, in giving yourself permission to do it your way. One of the things that I find is that we keep silencing ourselves and silencing our stories and silencing the narratives. And I realize that that could be for a lot of reasons. For some, it's like, I don't know how to tell my story. Others are like, I don't have a story to tell, which is a lie. You got 1,000 stories. And then there could be some who are like, I'm ashamed of my story. For all of those things, I feel like what you're doing is you're holding the solution that others need, that are going to be so easily found. And what I want to do is I want to give you room to, I want to show you how to do this. Right now, I am cutting and pasting into the chat the, okay, yeah, there it goes. I'm cutting and pasting into the chat. All of the ways that you can, you click that link, there are a series of workshops and opportunities that I am doing, that I'm giving, that I'm hosting, that are all about ensuring that I'm not the only voice that's out here being bold and giving the solutions or telling the truth as I see it, dressing that truth in story. I need to recruit more people to do the exact same thing. I want you to click that link and I want you to sign up for these workshops. And let me go ahead and just plug a couple of them here before we go to the virtual fuse and before we close out. I think the first one that's coming up is, yes, 5 stories every brand must tell. Intro to storytelling. For those of you who are like, okay, take me easy, take me slow. Like, I think this particular one would be a really good one. That one is on June 9. And then the second one is one of my absolute favorites, and I've actually expanded this one, Transforming Silence into Language and Action, Stories as Solutions. Again, that's an intro to storytelling workshop, but it's all about identifying and showing you why silence does not protect us, why silence hurts us, actually, why silence hurts the broader cause of everything that we are trying to do. So that one is on June 10. And these are all separate, distinct workshops. And then the third one is Guilt, Shame, and Storytelling, Wounded by Religion and Family Gossip. Listen, I know that there are a lot of people who don't tell their story because they are so deeply wounded and ashamed of where they've been, and they've been taught that that's the way that they're supposed to. But you're like, shame on you is the thing that we're trying to do. We hear that in faith-based communities and also in our family through family gossip. Just because you have been wounded by religion and family gossip does not mean that you have a legitimate excuse to remain silent. I have the tactics and the strategies for showing you how to do that. This workshop is actually a 2-day event. It starts on Friday evening and it wraps up on Saturday morning. So, but again, you can go and peruse the different workshops that are available. And here's the final one. What I am most interested in doing that this particular event has helped me to see is I don't want I think it's hilarious if the books get stolen. And I think it is a phenomenal that, you know, everyone kind of wants that piece. But what I have always wanted was to have a conversation. And I've always wanted to train people to have this conversation about where they've been so that our baby girls will not feel so isolated, not feel so alone about where they are. And so I've been toying with this whole idea. And I know that a lot of folks have been asking me, okay, well, where can I get the book? Where can I get the book? How can I get it? And so, yes, I will re-release it. But the thing that I battle is that my ego is just not one where I'm like, oh, yes, let the world love me, do this. That I got important things to say and we've got important things to do. And so just the way that I show up is all about making room for that. And so the book is a tool for me to do that. So here's what I want for the Transforming Silence into Language and Action, Attention and Intention groups. It is a 21-day journey towards wholeness. And there are 3 things that you're going to do, actually. So I will send you all 4 manuscripts for all 4 books, Trek's entire young adult series, so the entire deal. And there will be journal exercises and there will be meditation practices and all of that. What I want to do is I want Trekela Baden to lead you in. Now, you were able to hear how everybody was like, I read the book in 2 days. I read the book in under 2 days. So you know that they're going to be fairly easy reads. But what I want you to do is to take a 21-day journey towards wholeness. And you're going to do the meditation exercises. And then you're going to ask yourself 2 things. What do I see? And what do I have to say? I feel like the minute you practice fidelity to what you see and you have your say, then we are closer you to being walking in wholeness, but for all of us being transformed. Silence does not protect us. We must transform that silence into language and action. And I have this 21-day practice using the manuscripts for the 4 books that I would like to offer you. And so if you go to the click on that link, sign up for it. I got you. And then you can also hit me up on my website, alexusrhone.com, and we'll be able to go from there. Okay. So I think if that is okay, my mama was saying something here. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm going through the all of the the virtual pews, like all of the ones that just everyone who is like so amazing. I just love y'all to death. And I love to pop your comments up on screen because I want to make you famous. I want you to be famous. Isn't that interesting? I want you to be famous, but I'm like, I must shrink. Whatever. I'm not shrinking. Let me take that back. I'm not shrinking. What I am doing is I am helping you to mute the mic of your fears. Thank you, Felicia. That's what I'm doing. And that is all that I have been trying to do. Maria says, I hear that I've been working on changing that, working on being more fearless like me. Maria, I'm going to tell you, because you absolutely have it in you. Maria actually was also present at the release party. She was my Premature Pleasures inaugural poet, for those of you who were at that event. And I love you to death. And I think that there are some ways and some strategies that will definitely help everyone have their say. And that's all I'm really trying to do. Oh, bless you, Felicia. Thank you, everyone who showed up. Now, before we close out, let me do this one last thing. We normally have I will give just a brief blessing, but I wanted to have Lynette bring what I call the A and B selection. And I wanted her to sing the song as a part of our closing prayer. So let me pull Lynette up, and then I will come back on screen for a brief blessing and sending.
This day, give us this day our daily bread. You said you would supply all our needs according to your riches. I have but to ask, and I shall receive. To go from here and share this love you gave to me, to show someone who's lost and help them find their way, the way to truth and faith, so they can be free like me. They can be free like me. Lord, we need your love, and Lord, we need your peace.
and our blessing and our sending. The lyrics that Lynette just sang said that I would go and show someone who's lost, help them find the way to truth and life so they can be free like me. And I realized that liberty is not what a lot of us feel. Some of us feel very bound. I get it. I get it. So here is what I pray for us today. I pray that everything that happened in this space was meaningful, that it was relevant, and that the sovereign God will always meet us where we are, but not leave us where we're found. And even in us being found or in our seeking, may we know that there are some non-negotiables. Primarily, love is not an option. It is a command. May the command to love lead you, lead me, lead us towards creative solutions. Creative solutions. I don't know what they look like. You don't have to be able to name them. All you have to do is decide that you will practice fidelity to loving well as best you can and allowing love to lead us forward. May we leave this place and be contagious with joy and experience a love pandemic. Ashe, Selah, so be it. Thank you so much for being with me. Blessings to you. Follow me on all of my platforms and hit me up, alexusrhone.com. Blessings to you.
My funny Valentine, sweet comet Valentine, you